He was the Chief Executive Officer of FCMB Capital Markets, which is one of Nigeria's leading investment banking firms. Up to 2029, when Quest Advisory Services Limited became operational. Now, prior to all this, Bayo held senior management roles with other Nigerian investment banking houses, including Fountain Trust Merchant Bank in 1994 and Lead Merchant Bank in 1997. Bayo is also a member of the advisory board of the Enterprise Development Center, EDC, of the Pan-Atlantic University. He teaches strategic planning at the EDC and actively supports its various development initiatives, such as the Experts in Residence program that mentors small and medium-scale enterprise operators. Bayo was a member of faculty, an external member of faculty at the Lagos Business School between 2009 and 2013. He taught finance on the MBA, executive MBA, and senior management programs, as well as the LBS newly introduced international management program. So you can see that we have who's had a rich experience with us today. Bayo holds a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Lagos, one of the very best anyone can aspire to go. Not because I was there too, but I'm just saying it as it is. And he also has a master's degree in banking and finance from the University of Sheffield in the UK, which he got in 1992. Bayo is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, amongst others. So you can see that we have a man of rich experience and qualification. And so I'm going to welcome Mr. Bayo Rotimi to please take us into our topic for today, which is Nigeria's economic outlook in 2025, the opportunities, the threats, and the strategies that are open to us. Thank you. Over to you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Bayo Rotimi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Buki Fagade, DC, Mr. Boy, always a pleasure to be here. National Director, Dr. Obasanha, thank you for the kind opportunity. I hope that everybody can hear me very, very clearly and can also see my screen. Doctor, can you confirm that
yes,
you can hear me and see?
Yes, we can.
Excellent, excellent. Well, since I've been essentially introduced by two doctors, maybe there is a doctorate in my future. So I will work very hard. But your own doctor is to heal the body. My own, hopefully, will be of the intellectual kind.
And the pockets.
Indeed. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, it's a great pleasure to spend time with brethren of the fellowship. I know that, as Dr. Fagade has said, I have been privileged to spend and to share my thoughts with you on a number of occasions. And I think the last time was towards the end of last year. We discussed certain things, and Dr. Obi, when she was giving the opening prayer, she spoke about imbibing all that we have learned, and maybe also by next year, some of my listeners today can become faculty and resource people. So I'm hoping to take early retirement based on what Dr. Obi has said, and hope that I can be in the audience next year and listen to some people sharing their experience about how, in spite of the challenges, as DC has mentioned, the Bible is replete with examples of difficult times, difficult situations where God's children, God's own people have excelled. So we have no reason not to excel in spite of what the weather forecast is showing. So today, I would like to share my thoughts around the Nigerian economy. As I like to do, I will state the facts as is, but after that, I would like to help identify what I consider to be the critical opportunities that stare us in the face. You know, we are children of the light, and we really, really cannot be walking barefoot, whilst those who do not know God are riding on horses. So it is about knowledge, it is about wisdom, which is the application, effective application of that knowledge. I would like to share my thoughts with you very quickly this morning. Then after that, I look forward to a question and answer session where I can throw more light on any gray areas that may exist. So, what is the context for our conversation today? And I was very, very deliberate about this particular context. The context is around entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship. Everybody, every child of God should be an entrepreneur, whether you have a day job or not. Everybody must embrace entrepreneurship, you know, because God has given all of us multiple talents. So we can do more than one thing at the same time. Why is entrepreneurship important? It is simply because in our country today, 90% of businesses are entrepreneurial ventures. They are largely driven by individuals. 96% of businesses are largely driven by individuals. Yes, they happen to be of the small and the medium scale variety, but that medium is a significant space, right? So I'm not going to delve too much on the small. I want us to operate as, at the very minimum, medium scale enterprises that has a near-term plan to become a large enterprise. Why is that important? Because 84% of the employment that is generated in Nigeria is generated by the entrepreneurial class. So we have a duty and we have a responsibility. We are children of the light. God has given us insights. Every gift, every talent that we have was given to us for one singular purpose, which is to propagate the ministry and the gospel. And what better way of doing that than by creating economic opportunities for the brethren? Creating employment opportunities, ensuring that we banish poverty and lack from our environment, that we empower our people. It is in the process of empowering people, it becomes a lot easier for them to ask you, why are you so successful? And for you to immediately use that as an opportunity to minister the gospel unto them, to say, it is not me, it is only God. So I want us to use entrepreneurship as an evangelical tool. So don't do it for yourself. Do it to align with the mandates that God has given us, that we should preach the word and make disciples of everyone. So entrepreneurship can become that tool through which you can achieve this. So it does two things. It propagates the gospel and it also creates economic empowerment for you and the people around you. So that is the conversation. Now, it is always important for us to, again, context, for us to understand what is happening in our environment. And Dr. Basonha made my job a lot easier today because he delved into some of these things I'm going to be talking about. Right?
Sorry, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. Can we turn this into a slideshow to make it bigger for those using smaller screens?
Okay. I am so sorry. Let me do that now.
All right, that's fine.
Fantastic.
Okay, that's
Fantastic.
good.
I apologize. Yeah. So I was saying that Dr. Obasanjo made my job a lot easier because he laid the context. He spoke about what has just happened inside the United States of America, where a particular gentleman has been in office, I think, for the last 5 weeks or so, right? And make no mistake, there is a direct correlation between what happens on the global stage and what happens to you as an individual minding your own business in your own corner of Nigeria. Make no mistake about it. The world is interconnected in a way and a manner like we have never seen before. So this man has come into office, whether we like the man or not. At the end of the day, God is mysterious. We don't understand. His ways are not our ways. So he understands why at this particular time, this gentleman is seated inside of the White House in the US. And in the last 5 weeks, he has upended the world as we used to know it. He has scattered and is trying to redefine the global economic order, the global political order, and all of these things have a direct impact. This man says, friend or foe, I will impose tariffs on everybody. His nearest neighbors, Mexico and Canada, who have been allies of the United States from time immemorial, he's dealing with them with tariffs, or he's threatening tariffs against them. Europe, who have been his partners, the US's partners for the last 80 years. They fought, what am I saying, 100 and something years. They fought 2 world wars together. All of a sudden, Europe is a recipient or potential recipient of significant tariffs. And everybody is saying, if he imposes tariffs, we will retaliate. He has promised China the same thing. The only person he has not promised to levy tariffs against is Russia. So, ladies and gentlemen, what does all of this mean for you, for us as Nigerians? Doctor, again, he spoke about this. 80 to 90% of our foreign exchange earnings as a country comes from the sale of crude oil, right? So if Mr. Trump goes ahead to impose all of these tariffs he's talking about, what will happen? Number one, inflation will arise in the Western world, in all of those countries that are recipients of the tariffs. Inflation will go high, economies will slow down, interest rates will go up. When all of this happens, their demand for crude oil will reduce. When demand reduces, prices typically fall. Number two, Donald Trump says, drill, baby, drill. He has pulled the US for the second time out of the Paris Climate Change Accords. He wants to maximally produce crude oil in America for Americans and reduce dependence on external oil. What that means is supply of crude oil will very likely increase. When supply increases and it is greater than demand, prices will fall. Our national budget is based on 2025, signed into law yesterday, $75 a barrel, 2 million barrels a day. We are currently, according to government, NUDPRC, we are currently at 1.75, 1.54 barrels. If you add condensate, we are 1.75. So we are below our production target. Crude oil prices are also currently Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You are temporarily frozen, but we can hear you now.
Okay. In case you lose me, because I'm changing my power source now. In case you lose me, I will come back up on another device. Okay, so we were talking about what will happen with crude oil and how that may affect our budget estimates. We have passed the largest budget in the history of this country, or at least the executive and the judiciary. Yesterday, 55 trillion naira. How do we fund it? It will largely be funded from at least the FX part of it, 80 to 90% from crude oil sales. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us be very, very clear about what the economic prognosis is likely to be, right? I will go, it's important to know where we are so that we can then walk around it. So potentially you will see higher inflation in the US, not just in the US, in all of those countries. So in Western Europe, you will see higher inflation. In Africa, we're already dealing with hyperinflation in most of our economies. Interest rates higher. So if interest rates are high in the US, because central banks, whenever there is high inflation, central banks will increase interest rates, just like we're seeing in Nigeria. The benchmark interest rate is 27.5%. So the Federal Reserve in the US, the Bank of England, the European Central Bank, in an environment of high inflation, they will increase rates. If they increase rates, it means that a lot of the portfolio investments that comes to Nigeria in search of higher interest rates, since they can obtain higher interest rates in their local environment, a lot of those investments may not come to Nigeria. And this is also another source through which our currency is strengthened. Crude oil sale is a source of supply for foreign exchange. Foreign portfolio investors is another source. Number three, diaspora remittances. So if economies are slowing down, if Donald Trump is cracking down on anybody that is not Caucasian, for example, whether or not you hold a US passport or citizenship and all that is going on immigration, some Nigerians in the diaspora may be affected, which may also impact on diaspora remittances. So the Trump effect is major, not just for the West, but even for Nigeria. Number two, the West is moving more and more to the right and the extreme right, unfortunately. So cracking down on migration, whether legal, there is some crackdown on legal migration, but there is significant crackdown on illegal migration, which has an impact on diaspora remittances, like I spoke about. America first, so everybody is looking inwards, trying to protect their own environment, their own economies. That may affect international trade. Finally, geopolitical tensions. Russia versus Ukraine. I'm sure some of us monitored what happened in the White House yesterday when the president of Ukraine visited the US. I have not witnessed that kind of interaction between the leaders of sovereign nations in my own lifetime. So we are in uncharted territory with this gentleman called Donald Trump. Israel, Gaza, Iran, North Korea, China, and Taiwan, all of this has an impact on commodity prices and supply chain. So don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, it's sounding like plenty of bad news. I want to quickly get all the bad news out of the way because on the back of all of this, there are great opportunities, because I keep repeating, we are children of God. And when the world says that there is a casting down, our God tells us that there is a lifting up, which means great opportunities exist in situations of uncertainty, in situations of despair and despondency, like we are seeing right now. So I want to quickly get the bad news out of the way so that we can focus quickly on the good news that God has in stock for us. So what should we expect? How will all of this affect Nigeria? I think I've spoken about some of them, but I'll just rehash it very quickly. Number one, commodity prices, chief of which is crude oil. But there is always a silver lining. God always makes a way of escape, because truthfully, we now have a source of foreign exchange earnings beyond crude oil. This thing they call the Dangote refinery is probably at about 80% capacity now. If he gets up to 100%, not only will he meet local demand, export has already started and will continue. That can be a source of foreign exchange, because we are exporting something that is value added. Crude oil is good though, but why don't you add value to it before you send it out? And for every $1 you make, $1 you make from exporting crude oil, you probably make $3 or $4 from exporting value added variants of crude oil. So there will be, hopefully, God willing, a countervailing effect. Global inflation and interest rates have spoken about that. Supply chain disruptions have spoken about that. Digital transformation, for me, great opportunity. Great opportunity. The UK Prime Minister visited the same Donald Trump. Everybody is going to mark register with that guy. A few days before, it was Macron, right? So he went there and they were talking about collaboration in the digital innovation space. Those things feed back into Nigeria, because Nigerians are one of the most innovative people I know. They say out of 5 unicorns in Africa, that is companies that are valued in excess of $1 billion, Nigeria accounts for 3 out of the 5. So we are not doing badly in that space. Weak economic growth in the G20, the larger economies, it impacts on their their import, their ability to trade with us, particularly if we are selling low value addition products, right? We have to do better. But anyway, let's go to Nigeria very, very quickly. What are we seeing? In the last 2 years or so, our currency has probably lost about 60 to 70% of its value in the last 2 years. But I think in the last couple of months, maybe from about December up until now, the CBN has continued to maintain its orthodox monetary policies, which means that they will continue to use interest rates to try to bring down inflation. Inflation is coming down only marginally, and I'll talk about inflation a bit. It's coming down only marginally. Discount the recent rebasing of the consumer something, the CPI, right? Discount that, and I'll talk about it a bit more. But inflation is moderating only very slightly, simply because you cannot use monetary policy alone to bring down inflation. The fiscal authorities also have to show a lot of discipline. So, but in the last maybe month or two, we've started to see some stability in our exchange rate. As a matter of fact, you've started to see the Naira gaining ground in the last maybe 6 weeks or 2 months or so. Why is that happening? Because we're starting to see a bit more consistency in the inflow of foreign exchange into our economy. The demand pressures, 40% of our FX demand went into the importation of petrol. So as Dangote is increasing and ramping up local production and the other smaller refineries, the demand for imported petrol is coming down, even though it is still there, but it will eventually disappear, because there are some people that are benefiting from an import regime, but Dangote, in his typical style, is using pricing to whittle down the impact of the importer. So very, very soon, Nigeria will be locally self-sufficient in production and utilization of refined petroleum products. That can only help to further strengthen our currency. What a lot of business people, local and international, say is, yes, I would like a stronger Naira. But what I would like even more is a predictable Naira. So if it is 1,005 we are working with, then I can plan on the basis of 1,005 because I know that the volatility will not be more than plus or minus 5 to 10%. And that is what you see in other developed economies. The level of volatility is marginal. So if we can hopefully gain a bit more, then just achieve stability, I'll be fine. Inflation, very high. 29 in the last 29 years, we got our highest level of almost 35% as of December. Now we have done a rebasing, and rebasing has brought it down to 24.5. But does it mean that inflation has dropped 10%? No. It just means that the basis upon which we compute our inflation figures have changed. Before, we used to use a base year of 2009. We have brought the base year to 2024. So it is more realistic. But it does not mean that suddenly the price of goods and services in the market has dropped by 10%. It has dropped, but only marginally. My hope is that as the economy moves in the right direction, inflation will start to trend downwards even more. So what else is happening out there? GDP growth. We closed last year at 3.4%. The year before we did 2.3, so there's been some growth there. In the last quarter of last year, we did 3.86, which is almost 3.9%. For Nigerians to feel the impact of GDP growth, we need to grow at about 6 to 7%. So I'm gratified that we are moving in the right direction. If we can hit 4.5% this year and continue, maybe by next year hit 5-6%, then gradually Nigerians will start to feel the impact. But today at 3%, you hardly feel the impact because your population is growing at almost that same rate. Things have been tough. And DC mentioned this earlier. Things have been tough. The prices of everything has gone up. Why? Because, truth be told, everything was subsidized. Our currency was subsidized. Our petrol was subsidized. Our electricity was also subsidized. Our telecommunications was also subsidized. That was the truth. So a subsidy that is consumption focused may bring temporary relief, but long term we are worse off. We've seen it now. Petrol for the last 30 years subsidized. Where did it get us? So reality is these things needed to happen. Did they happen in the most orderly and the most efficient manner? I don't think so. It could have happened in a tidier manner, but it is what it is. Sometimes they say you rip up the bandage, you don't remove it small by small by small. Different people have their approaches, right? But what is important is how do we build from where we are? Because that is the only way we can achieve economic prosperity. All right. What are the challenges? I remember from the context from my first slide, I said I'm going to focus on entrepreneurship. So what are those things affecting that entrepreneurial journey or focus that I want all of us to have? And I've listed some of them. None of the things here is new. All of us are fully aware because it has been like this for the last 60 odd years that we've been a nation. Access to finance has been a challenge for a long time. Interest rates are very high. I have a client that is borrowing money, that took a loan from a financial institution about 3-4 years ago. The interest rate was 16% when he took that loan. Today, that same loan, the bank is charging him 35%. How can a business survive with 35% rate of interest? Yeah, so access to finance is a challenge. The costs attached to the financing is also a challenge, but it's okay. I will share some thoughts with you. Infrastructure, we know. Power, we don't have. Roads, we are trying, we are struggling. Water, we don't have. It's okay. It's been like that for as long as I can remember. But on the back of all of this, I will show you the opportunities. Regulatory burdens, yes. Tax, this one. There is a comprehensive reform in the tax legislation. Let's watch and see. The public hearing took place all of last week. I hope that some of us were able to share our thoughts on how to refine and improve on those bodies of legislation. My view personally, I think with proper implementation, it will have a very, very positive effect on the Nigerian economy, right? I think so. And for a lot of us in the entrepreneurial class, that the new tax legislation for the small to mostly the small businesses will benefit from a lot of tax relief. Skills gaps is okay. We will talk about. We know our educational system needs help. Our healthcare system, all the social infrastructure, just as we have struggled with physical infrastructure, we've also struggled with social infrastructure. Inflation has spoken about, foreign exchange, we know. But remember what I said, at the back of every single one of these challenges I have mentioned today are significant opportunities. And I will take them one by one by one. So just note all of the challenges so that when we start talking now, you will see the opportunities or the ways to navigate or mitigate the adverse effects of some of these challenges that we're talking about. Unemployment, this one is okay. We've talked about it. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I was in a hurry to get all the bad news out of the way, but we needed to know, we needed to be aware of how things are at the moment. How things are does not define where you are going or what you will achieve in your own journey. It is for you to be fully aware, because it is through that knowledge that you will be able to identify the opportunity areas that are significant. And make no mistake about it, Nigeria is one country that has the greatest, in my own personal opinion, the greatest aggregation of opportunities of any country on the surface of this earth, as far as I'm concerned. But a lot of those opportunities are wrapped in the middle of challenges. So a lot of people get put off by the outward packaging, the challenges, and fail to see the gold mines that are nested in the middle of those challenges. Why is it that the foreigners, in spite of everything, still keep bringing their money into Nigeria? Why do they keep visiting Nigeria? Why do they keep investing in Nigeria in spite of all these challenges that we've been complaining about for the last 64 years? It's because they are looking beyond the external packaging. That's it. So anyway, let's talk about some things very quickly. I spoke about access to finance, big problem. But on the back of that problem, there are solutions. Yeah? What you as an entrepreneur need is you need long-term or medium-term, worst case, decently priced funding. Do those things exist in Nigeria today? Yes. Bank of Industry, Development Bank of Nigeria, this thing that they just created, Credit Corporation, where you can seek consumer financing. Remember, and Barrister Edet is an expert on this thing. Remember the legislation that was created in the last regime around the use of movable assets to secure credit facilities. That was the foundation upon which something like the Credit Corporation can now sit. A lot of people who want to do higher education are able to get student loans. How many of us have accessed or attempted to access some of this funding? So the client I told you about that is suffering from 35% interest rates is already engaging and is about to get concessional lending. So these kind of things will bring down your average cost of funds as an entrepreneur. Yeah? Digital, yes. Africa, the potential within this continent is second to none. Follow what Aliko is doing with his refinery. So he's selling to outside Nigeria, outside Africa, but he's also selling into African markets, starting from Ghana next door, and quite a number. So there is some progress that has been made around continental economic integration. There are some benefits here, but have we sat down to examine them properly? Have we tried to see the opportunity areas? Why can you in Nigeria not be trading with counterparties with our nearest neighbors, Benin Republic, Ghana, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, to their conversations? This thing has gone again now. But anyway, please bear with me if it goes off. I don't know what's happening today. Funding solutions, I spoke about the concessional financing, but there are several others beyond concessional financing, right? Private equity, venture capital. I put something here, it's called IDICE. It's one long name, but it's a $600 million funding for the creative industry and for the digital innovation space. So if you want to do anything technology related, that's a $600 million funding put together by the African Development Bank and a few other multilateral DFIs. Those funding, I believe this year will start becoming available to people who are in the technology and the creative economy space. So think through that. Next one there, Angel Investing Accelerator Program. At the EDC, where I'm a member of the advisory board, we had a session yesterday or day before yesterday, an accelerator program. About 10 businesses were going to get we're going to get in equity investments. So there are a lot of funding solutions that are available in our environment. We just need the knowledge. We need to chase after these things. Finally, alternative financing, carbon credits. Some people will finance you if your business is sustainable from a climate and a reduction in the emission of greenhouse gases standpoint, right? So if your business is beneficial, what you do is beneficial to the environment, then you get some additional funding, or you get a reduction in the price of the debt that is provided to you. Non-interest financing. Some people who are not Christians have created a financing structure or system that is like equity. And guess what? The capital of non-interest financing in the world is not Saudi Arabia, it's not Dubai, it's the United Kingdom. Do you understand? So we have to use wisdom, crowdfunding, and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, diversification. I said earlier today, you may have a job, 9 to 5 or whatever it is. You can be an entrepreneur at the same time. So what you are doing is you are diversifying your revenue sources, right? Then I also want you to invest in businesses, right? I want you to invest in businesses that cut across multiple sectors. You can have one business that is oil and gas, like DC. You can have another business that you are invested in healthcare, like the doctors we have. Do you know that you don't have to set up a healthcare business? You can invest in an existing healthcare enterprise. You can be a passive investor. You can invest on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, right? Look for a company in a particular sector that you like or you understand and invest. That's indirect investing. That's passive investing. So if you invest in the banking sector, for example, simple, look for the top 5 banks in Nigeria, buy their shares, and leave the managers of those businesses to carry the headache of running the banks, but you are an investor. The Nigerian stock market did 38% last year, one of the highest returns in the world. The Nigerian stock market 2020, in the middle of COVID, up till 2024, has done an aggregate return of 283%. How many of us have taken advantage of the passive investment opportunity that the Nigerian Stock Exchange represents? You are facing your core business, but you have invested in credible businesses that have credible people running it. Passive is their wahala. Is it Segun Agbaje and Tony Elumelu and Jim Ovia that are worrying about generator or no generator, diesel or no diesel, staffing or no staffing problem? That is their wahala. They are managing your money on your behalf and are delivering a dividend yield that is one of the highest. You know, this return I've just given you on the Nigerian stock market compared to other emerging markets, India, China, Brazil, South Africa, Nigeria is head and shoulders in this same country that we are complaining about everything being upside down. When the word says there is a casting down, children of God, if you are focused, God will show you the opportunity. I have a friend, retired banker. All he does today is passive investing on the Nigerian stock market. He does nothing. Every day, 2 hours, he spends on his device because he can trade. His stockbroker has given him access to the capability to trade on his iPad. 2 hours is all he does every day. Then he goes to play golf. Strategic alliances, local and foreign partners. Some of the wealthiest Nigerians today, these guys have started dying now. They're in their 80s and 90s. In the 60s and 70s, when the Europeans, the Western world, Western businesses were coming into Nigeria, they partnered with these people. These people took a stake in those companies. Some of them have 5%, some of them have 10% stakes. Those 5%, 10% stakes today have become the source of generational wealth to those families. Why can't you create something that will attract a foreign investor? Why can't you say to a foreign investor, me, I know Nigeria like the back of my hand. I can help you navigate XYZ areas in Nigeria. So I want you to diversify across industries, across geographies. So remember what I said about Africa. Your focus must not only be on Nigeria. You do Nigeria, you do some Africa. Look for exposure to property outside of Nigeria. You know you can own a share, a fractional share in a property in the United Kingdom. You don't have to bring 500,000 pounds to buy. Bring your 1,000, bring your 5,000. You can own a fractional share of a property in the UK. Property prices in the UK, on the average, every 10 years, 10 to 12, 13 years, every 10, 12, 13 years, the value doubles. Go and check for the last 100 years. 12, 13 years, you will see practically on the average a doubling in property prices. Passive. Export focus and import substitution. Import substitution simply means we import XYZ. Can I build a business in Nigeria that manufactures that thing that a lot of people import? That's import substitution. Export focus, I want to earn FX. So I have a small farm. I invest in a little agro-processing unit and I can export my value-added products. Yam. You know that we are the #1 producer of yam in the world. Cassava, cocoa. Cocoa farmers, cocoa delivered 132% returns last year. After Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria is probably #3 in cocoa. 132% return. So even if inflation is 38%, even if bank is charging you 35% interest rates, do you know that 132% return makes you profitable whether inflation is 40% or whatever? You don't care. And you are earning dollars. Haba. So ladies and gentlemen, plenty to do. And that leads me to my next point. So identified about 8 or 9 of them. And this is homework. This is a mandate. This is an assignment. All of us must find at least one thing inside all of this. In addition to whatever it is you are doing today, I don't care what it is, there is something extra you can add. You must always seek to diversify. So agriculture, I just spoke about 132% return on cocoa last year. Haba. Processing, packaging, cultivation, distribution. There are opportunities in that entire value chain. A lot of agricultural produce in Nigeria up till tomorrow morning is still a lot of it are done on a seasonal basis. So when it is harvest season, the supply is plenty, prices crash. In the off season, there is scarcity, prices go up. That in itself is an opportunity area. Why can you not create a facility and a vehicle that allows you to produce in that off season when there is scarcity? Your returns will be significant. Then technology, anything. Take technology, join it to anything. It creates greater efficiency. Agri-tech solutions. You know, knowledge has been democratized, ladies and gentlemen. Seek knowledge. Everything is available. ChatGPT, go and download it if you have not. Ask any question of the world, in the world, you will get a clear answer. Ask for strategies, ask for insights. So Google was a source of information. ChatGPT has now become a business tool, an analytical tool, an investment management tool. Take maximum advantage of these things. And they are free editions. So, ladies and gentlemen, and that takes me into our digital conversation. We all have to invest in digital education. We can all do better. It's like how they say that we don't use up to maybe 10% of our brain's processing capabilities. It's the same thing with technological tools that exist today. We have not scratched the surface of 5%. The things that are happening with AI, the things that will happen with quantum computing. We have to find a way to position ourselves for some of those things that are about to happen. And it touches everything. Every sector will be impacted. Every service will be impacted. E-commerce, fintech, this one. Some of the fintechs, they are 3, 4, 5 years old in Nigeria today. They are giving the banks a run for their money in terms of the volume of transactions that passes through them. Businesses that were just 3, 4, 5 years old. All of them, well, most of them, properly licensed CBN. So there is oversight, there is governance. Renewable energy, clean energy, this one. The event I attended 2 days ago, there was a solar company there. So they are offering solar solutions, but they've backed it up with financing. They've partnered with a finance provider. So you don't need one big money to access their solar solution. Consumer credit. So you get the solar solutions and you are paying for it over 3, 4 years. That's an opportunity, and there are plenty of. So healthcare, my 2 doctors are in the room. A lot of things are happening in the healthcare space. Technology and healthcare have come together. Technology and education, technology and agri, technology and everything. So how can we, as a group, today's session is meant to provoke. It is a call to action. It's enough. We have talked too much. Talking is cheap. It's a call to action. What do we do with all this talk? So we must find partners amongst ourselves, people who have similar ideas, working together, supporting each other. There are multiple skill sets available in this conference that we're having this morning. Some people are technology experts. Some people are healthcare experts. Some people are this, that, and the other. Education and edutech. Do you know that the last point here, consumer-based testing, computer-based testing, do you know that this is a business opportunity? This thing is a business opportunity. Get a space, get computers, get backup, get broadband internet, start offering standardized testing. This is what some people do. This is a business that has grown in leaps and bounds, maybe in the last 5, 6, 7 years. E-learning platforms, so on and so forth. Real estate, again, direct or indirect. If you can't go direct, then start with indirect. Learn from the people who are there. Indirect means you lend. So the Ministry of Finance Incorporated has come up, they launched on Series 2 now. Series 1 was 150 billion. What is a REIT? Real Estate Investment Trust. So you don't have the money to buy a house in Lekki at 300, 400 million, but you have 1 million naira. So you can use your 1 million naira to buy into a real estate investment trust. And that real estate investment trust will aggregate 500 other people with 1 million, for example, and can now buy that property, build it up, let it out. The rental income becomes the distribution to you as dividends. 5 years' time, that 500 million property is worth 1 billion naira. So you own a small stake in a business that is now valued at 1 billion. UPDC had a REIT. There is another company, SFS, has a REIT. But now Murphy, government, have come there. They're offering Series 2 at the moment, trying to raise an additional 100 billion so that they will have 250 billion to invest in the real estate sector, commercial and residential, mostly residential actually. But you can come together, 5, 10, 20 people on this group, do one small commercial development. Do one small mini estate of 8 flats, 10 flats, 16 flats. Demand supply analysis, crazy. Entertainment and creative industry, I mentioned the significant funding that is coming into this sector. Some of us may have interest, may be passionate about things like this. There is an opportunity there. Transportation and logistics, one of our biggest problems in Nigeria, but it is an opportunity for the people who can look beyond the problems and see the opportunity that it represents. People are coming up with innovative ideas every single day. I think I've almost finished. Manufacturing and industrial processing, light manufacturing, light, basic things. 5 million, 10 million naira, you buy one decent machine from China and you start with it. I had a client, not a client, customer many years ago in my banking business. They came to borrow 5 million naira to buy one small machine from China that does toothpicks. 5 million naira that time. Maybe that machine is 25 million naira today. But it's small, does not take a lot of space, maybe only needs 1 or 2 people to operate it. And that's how this business started. Today, it is something else. It has evolved. In this room, in this meeting, we can come together and have multiple vehicles doing different things. Find your area of passion. That area of passion did not come by mistake. It is God that put it inside you. It is a gift. And everybody has. Some 5, some 10, some 2. The minimum God gave anybody was 1. What have you done with it? God will ask you. These gifts I gave you, 10 of them, what did you do with it? We are busy blaming government and politicians who don't care about you. All the politicians, they are one. They are united in their self-interest. So why are we allowing ourselves to be used as cannon fodder for these people who are one indivisible unit, but they present or highlight our differences to their own benefits and don't allow you to see the great opportunity that Nigeria represents? So that's what we must do. Tourism and hospitality and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, I think my time is up, but I'm going to close with this slide. Digital transformation, everybody should go and learn. Everybody should study. Study to show yourself approved. Build a new skill. Learn about something new. Let technology and the application of technology be something that you should seek knowledge and understanding about. First of all, by seeing how to apply it to your current business or job, but also to see what other things you can apply that knowledge to. Diversification, business, you have a job, add business to it. You have one business, diversify into another business. Input supply. Every manufacturer in Nigeria needs inputs. A lot of those imports are imported. Meanwhile, Nigeria is one of the most blessed countries in terms of natural resources, mineral resources, human capital resources. So how can you be an input supplier? Diversify across sectors, currencies, location, financial literacy, investment. I've spoken about that. As a group, when you come together, we have a voice. The full gospel can speak truth to government, can influence policy, can lobby government. Because once you have scale and size, you have become a pressure group. Then finally, all of us on this group, we have to do better in networking. Because your next door neighbor may just have a partnership idea that can transform your life, or may have something that you have been looking for a long time. But because everybody bypasses each other in the rat race of life, we don't engage, we don't network enough. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank